Hi everyone, I'm Deepti Behel, another kidney transplant warrior, and today I have a special guest, Mike, with us in the Kidney Talkies. Welcome, Mike, to the Kidney Talkies. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, both personally and professionally?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Nicoloy. I am a kidney transplant recipient. I have had my new kidney since 2012, and I'm doing great, better than I ever have before. Um, I live in just outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with my wife and my two sons, Liam and Shay. My wife is Angela, and we're living large here with my new lease on life. Professionally, I run my own publishing company, Nico 11 Publishing and Design, uh, which I started after my transplant, but I published several books with either transplant recipients or stories of uh, transplant donors and recipients, things like that. And so I've been doing that for, I believe, 9 or 10 years now, the publishing industry.
That's good to know. Thanks, Mike, for sharing this. Before we dive into your transplant journey, what does the life look for you today?
What does life look like? Every day I get up and I'm happy to be alive. It's a great time to be alive. I constantly think about my transplant. I'm constantly grateful to my donor. It's the only reason I was able to have children. Um, and so I love having a family. And it's really all because of my transplant. And so I'm definitely an advocate, and I do some volunteer work at the hospital where I got my transplant, Frederick Memorial Lutheran Hospital in Milwaukee. Um, and every day is a great day. And I go to work. My commute is simple. I walk downstairs to my office, and I work on publishing books. And so every day is a great day.
Thank you so much. After transplant, the people's perspectives change, and all they have is a sense of gratitude towards their donor. Now,
Definitely.
Mike, when did you first realize something was going wrong with your kidneys, and what was going through your mind at that time?
I started having blood pressure issues, more than just the typical hereditary blood pressure issues, and my doctor put me on Lasix, or the water pills to try to flush out my system, get the water weight down, and that ended up putting me in the hospital. And so that was about 2004 or five, I think. And then over the years, I made it to the hospital several times, and finally they decided to take a kidney biopsy, among other tests. But yeah, it was. I started really feeling weak and dizzy a lot. I had to lay down a lot. Um, I knew something was wrong, but it's one of those things like, oh, I'm just sick, or I'm just, like, you don't really start, like moving towards, checking it out or getting specialist treatment until something happens, like you pass out and they have to call the ambulance and take you to the ER and say, hey, guess what? Your kidneys are failing, so um, things like that happen, and they're found out usually through another circumstance like that.
My goodness,
Yeah.
I don't know what to really say. What were you ever on dialysis?
Yes, I was. I was on dialysis for just over 11 months.
Was it hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis?
Actually, I started on peritoneal, and it turned out my port was, or it was either malfunctioned, or it was inserted, or placed incorrectly, and I ended up, my peritoneal sac filled up and wouldn't release the release the solution. So I said, enough of this. I want a specialist to do this, and so they fit me with my fistula, and I went in and then took the hemo from there. And so that was, I was on peritoneal for a couple of months, and then Ended up going in 3 days a week to a dialysis center locally.
Oh, wow. What is the hardest part of living with the dialysis?
Um, you think it was I got to go for 3 or 4 hours, 3 days a week, but that was like it is what it is. What my hardest issue was being as hungry as I was after each treatment and how I felt like just really weak. I mean, you're getting what I called an oil change, every other day, complete blood flush. And it just really wiped me out. I was very tired. I couldn't really work a lot. Um, I just wanted to sleep, all the time. And so, um, it was a real blessing to be able to get on the transplant list and then find a living donor who was a dear friend of mine, because dialysis was really hard on me, which I know it is on a lot of people. But yeah, it was tough.
What were you actually doing professionally before transplant?
I was in metal casting sales. I represented foundries in America and Mexico to bring sales to them. And so I guess in short, I was a sales rep. I traveled a lot, and that had to end as well.
So basically your career trajectory entirely changed because of the dialysis. You could no longer travel for work.
Yes, that's correct. And thankfully, I had a really good boss. I worked for my family's company, and so my boss, being my father, was very you know compassionate about my situation, and so I didn't lose my job because of it. But thankfully, I was able to leave, and then. Again, after my transplant, I worked there for a little while longer. And then I had the opportunity to get my publishing business. I purchased it from someone. So, uh, yeah, so it ended up working out, but it was a tough couple of years there.
Wow. Cannot even think about the situation. Looking back, what surprised you most about the recovery after your transplant that no one had prepared you for?
Oh, that's interesting. Um, I mean, I felt like as soon as I woke up, obviously recovering from surgery, you're all you're still in pain from the incisions and stuff like that, but I felt immediately better. I knew that the transplant worked because I immediately felt better. I didn't feel like sleeping 15 hours a day. Even in the hospital room, I was like awake, and I couldn't wait to get up and move around. A couple of days after the surgery was over, I didn't want to walk at all. But um, uh, as far as what they prepared me for was just returning to a normal life. Everybody kind of says you can do that, but like when you've spent the several 5 to 7 years before that, which is what I did, either being sick and being on dialysis, all that stuff, returning to a normal life where I was like, oh, I don't need to take a nap in the middle of the day or fall asleep at my desk or whatever, like it was just it was an easy transition. Don't get me wrong, because it was all positive, but I wasn't I was pleasantly surprised at how great I felt. And I mean, I got up, and even in my recovery, I moved around, I cleaned the house, and it may have even been too much, but I just was like, I had so much energy. I was ready to go.
How hungry you were?
Yes. Yeah. And I could eat regular again. It took a little time to get used to, some of the new meds. But all that post-surgery recovery, I expected all that, but I was like ready to get back into eating protein, and I didn't miss eating, not eating spinach, and because I don't really like it, so it was cool to return to a normal life, though. That's for sure.
Could you tell a day that how were your feelings the day you received the call that kidney is available or your surgery was scheduled because you had a living kidney donor?
Yeah. My wife and I had taken a kind of a weekend in Winnaways before we had kids, of course, and um, I was a little, I was kind of getting a little depressed, a little bummed out, because but I knew my donor was going through the testing, or like my hopeful donor, and she was my eventual donor. was going through the testing, and we were just kind of sitting and waiting. So like, let's get out of town for a weekend and go chill someplace and do a little fishing or whatever. And we got the call while we were out there, and we were just ecstatic, and we were almost like in disbelief. And after all these years, it's finally happening. We got the scheduled date. We called all of our family and friends and said it's happening. And of course they were all happy for us and very supportive. But it was just a great day when we found out about that.
Oh, wow. Could you tell how did you find about your living kidney donor, or give her some insights if she can directly connected to you, or if anybody is searching for a living kidney donor, any tips you have for them?
Um, the first tip I have for someone is don't be humble or resistant to asking. Put it out there, you know, say, I just found out that I have to go on the kidney transplant list. And there are people, either family members or friends, who want to help. Some of them may not be in the condition to give a kidney, but they can start putting the word out, and that's how the network starts. But I had several of my friends. My brother obviously went in and got tested right away. He didn't qualify. His kidney was not in the or his health was not in the spot to do that, unfortunately. But um, uh, you know, my donor was one of my friends that came and said, almost jokingly, hey, if you ever need a kidney, let me know. I'll put one up for you. And then I did, and I said, hey, I just got on the transplant list, and she immediately went and got tested, and so did several of my other friends, and she made it through. But again, don't feel bad about putting it out there, because there are people out there that want to help, that are interested in like there's a self-fulfillment about sacrificing a part of yourself to help someone else out. And if they can't do it, they will put the word out and try to find someone or a group that will help facilitate getting you on the list or finding a living donor. And so, and I still talk about it to this day. I still tell people, share your spare, and I one of my authors that I work with is a donor, and I always say, be like Brenda, share your spare, like you have two, you can live on one, if you're healthy enough, of course. And so, help someone out who doesn't have any, or has failure, or has a disease, or gotten an accident and lost, had damage enough that they need a transplant.
How is your donor doing?
My donor is doing great. Yeah, she's doing great. She is a retired nurse. She's retired now. She was a nurse, and so she was in great shape, and she continues to be in great shape. I absolutely love her to pieces. We were friends, of course, before the gifts she gave me, and we've remained very close. I named both of my kids, both of my sons. I named them after her, but my son Liam is Liam Timothy MK, which are her initials, and my son Shay is Shay Shaden Miles K Nicoloy. So they both have her initials in tribute to her gift, because they're basically not here without her.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing.
Yeah, I like I said, I absolutely love her to death, and we've become very close. Where her kids are kind of like my almost like my daughters. We're very close.
Nice. How has receiving a transplant changed your perspective to life?
It definitely made me appreciate life even more than I had. I don't know how close I came to dying per se, but there's I mean, you could die walking out of your house today too. But what it really made me and my wife, and we pass this along to our children, is how we react to diversity, or to bad news, or to hardship. And we made a decision when this first all started, to say, We have two ways we can look at this. We can be all, woe is me, why is this happening to me? Blame God, blame, my parents for, whatever, like heredity or whatever it is. Or we can be a good example to other people going through this, who don't have the support system we need, and we can be a good support system to them, and we can give them encouragement to say, look, it's going to be okay. I'm living proof of this, and just have a good attitude about it. I think that's infectious. Either way, bad attitude or good attitude can be infectious with people. And I think you can really influence people to have a good attitude, even if it's not about their health. It's just about their general life. And so when they see somebody going through adversity or hardship who can still keep their head up and be positive and say, yeah, I know this situation sucks, but we're looking toward the future, and the future looks good. We just got to get through this. We got to fight through this. And look, we came out clean on the other side. So I think it's just being an encouragement to others.
Yep, I totally agree with that. What are some of the habits or routines that have helped you to stay healthy and protect your transplanted kidney?
Um, I think the main thing is, and it took me a while to do this, but like get a good baseline of exercise, having that, having the energy to do it, and then getting out, and then going out and taking the time to do it. And yes, it's about, uh, making sure your kidney stays healthy. But beyond that, a step above that, I think, is to make sure that you show appreciation to your donor about, they gave you this gift. They could have given it to someone else. And so you take care of that, and make sure to, as nothing else, attribute to the donor that this was not a vain or a wasted gift, and somebody else could have used it better than you. Um, I ended up getting post-operative diabetes, which was upsetting, but and it took me a few years. But once I got on a good medication regimen, a good diet regimen, fixed my exercise regimen, I lost a bunch of weight from that, and I'm actually in remission of the diabetes. So, just I think just understanding that it takes time, and there could be some setbacks. Some people's kidneys don't work right away. Some people end up having, getting diabetes or continuing to have diabetes. Their blood pressure goes up. Sometimes those setbacks, you just need to work through them. Work with your doctors, listen to your doctors, keep getting your blood tests, keep getting your medication. If you have, like I have sleep apnea, keep using your mask. That is huge to control your blood pressure, even your weight. Just be vigilant about your health, I think.
That sounds good. Thanks for sharing those insights. That would be
Yeah.
really helpful. Now let's talk about your storytelling and publishing business. Since you are a publisher, how has your experience as a transplant recipient influenced the story you are passionate about sharing?
Because it's a good story, and it's actually a long story. It's a really cool tale of how even I came to have the donor that I have. And every time I talk to somebody who's in the kidney realm, you and I have spoken about this on several occasions. And I work with a woman named Brenda Cortez, who was a kidney donor, and she and I were, we found each other, and I published a few of her books, and she ended up starting to put other donors and recipients' stories together in compilation books. And she's actually working on her third of those books now. And she wrote a series of children's books about transplant, not just kidney, but liver and heart, and then other things about kindness and things like that. It's just about getting the message out there, about signing the back of your driver's license to be a deceased donor, and an organ donor, not just a kidney donor, but an organ donor. So people's stories can inspire that, and this is a great way to try to get more people to understand these things. Not just my story, but everybody's story is a little bit different. Or, what their ailment was, what their transplant journey was, whether they had a deceased donor or a somebody that they knew, or if they ended up in the new donor network where the person that they want, like their donor wasn't a match, but they were a match with somebody else in the world, and then somebody else gave them their kidney. But it's a big transplant network, and it's a very cool thing. Like you have a couple of people, like get tested, they don't work for you, but they may match with someone else. The transplant journey continues, and it's actually increasing, and thankfully what I've heard is that there are not as many deceased donors because car safety is much better. And so people are not dying in car accidents as much, which again is a great thing. But the need for donors is still there. So the Living Donor Network, I believe, kind of picks up where the deceased donor network may have fallen off a little bit. I don't really have a lot of evidence to go back and show you that, but through some of the things I've read and heard, that's a really great thing on both sides. We're still getting living donors, and fewer people are dying in accidents, but we're still able to get people new kidneys and increasing their not just their life expectancy, but their quality of life.
Yep, I totally believe that. Why do you believe storytelling is so important in healthcare, especially for patients and caregivers?
Um, because I think of those unique situations, there is always someone out there that can identify with it and are either worse than the story they hear or not as bad as the story they hear. And they say, oh, look, somebody went through the same thing I did, and this is what they did. I'm going to talk to my doctor about this, or I'm going to, like my sister has always, said that she would give me a kidney if I needed it, or something to that effect. So I think the storytelling, and for the caregivers too, it's like they need to understand that it's not just a job for them. This is a real person they're working with, and with real feelings, and they're scared about their life, and their quality of life, and even the longevity of their life. And I just think there's people can identify with certain things that they read in these stories, or that they hear in these stories, and I think it kind of touches a nerve with them to say, you know what, I think I could be a donor too, or you know what, I want to help people in the nephrology part. So I'm going to go volunteer at the local transplant center, or the nephrology center, or I'm going to go into social work and work with people to help them figure out how they're going to work their insurance out. There's a lot of factors involved with not just the healthcare system, but specifically transplant. And so it's just a great way to get good information to people, because it's anecdotal evidence. It's people's story, and it's going from a bad thing to progress to a good happy ending. And sometimes it's not a great story, because some of the donors are the families of a deceased donor who died in an accident, a skiing accident or a car accident or something, and it's almost a reckoning for them to be able to, like say, we brought triumph out of tragedy. The tragedy was our son dying, but we were able to help 6, 7, 8 people by donating that person's organs and their eyes and their skin and their lungs and their one deceased donor can make life better for many people. And so I think that's a really fulfilling thing, to say that we were able to bring some good out of this tragic situation.
Yep, somebody's loss is somebody's hope.
Exactly. And I have, we printed stories, and I've heard stories about the recipient and their family being very, not even knowing the donor and the donor's family, but then meeting after the transplant. And for heart transplants, they take the stethoscope and they put it on the heart so they can hear their son's heart beating
Wow.
in person. Oh yeah, and then just like you can't help but just cry when you hear those things, because like again, it's something horrible, but still can like increase the life of a child or a father or a daughter or something like that. It's a really good healing piece for that deceased person's family.
Could not stop myself crying. And uh, I have another quick question. If
Mhm.
someone listening has always wanted to share their kidney journey but does not know where to start, what advice would you give them?
To share their kidney journey.
Yes.
Well, the first thing I'll say is email me at mike@nico11publishing.com, and I'll and we can take it from there to like if you want to get your story and put a book out. But I I I mean I have a website called yougottobekidneyme.com, where my kidney story is, and it's a Facebook page. I would say to do social media and put posts out and join kidney support groups and transplant recipient groups and things like that, and say I want to tell my story because I think it would be important for people and it'll be helpful to people. Um, Contact a local publisher in your area. Talk to the local hospital in your area. They constantly, and I've done this many times with Freighter in Milwaukee. I will go in and I will talk to dialysis center workers and phlebotomists about um, dialysis from the patient's perspective, in kind of a training for them. And I'll talk to some transplant patients who are about to go in for their transplants about the experience. And yeah, share your experience. There's plenty of places out there. Go to your National Kidney Foundation state chapter and ask them what you can do, to get your story out there. Uh, I've had people who actually contacted and been on radio talk shows, podcasts like this, like you're doing here, which I think is a wonderful thing because you can reach a lot of people that you wouldn't otherwise. So just start talking, just start getting out there.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
what message would you like to share with somebody who is currently on dialysis or waiting for a transplant?
I would say, more than anything, be positive. I know it can get frustrating and I know it can get a little depressing sitting in that chair for as long as you do, but just try to be positive. Know that this is keeping you alive so you can have quality life with your friends and family, and enjoy life. And then when you're able, enjoy life. Even if it's the day between dialysis, get out there and do something. Don't just sit there and wallow in your disease. Be better than your disease, and don't let it get you down. And if you're able to get a transplant, I mean, just have hope that that's going to work out. And you're going to hit setbacks, but just stay positive. I think that's the best advice I can give to somebody.
Thank you so much, Mike. Now we have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Uh, do you like going to the beaches or going to the mountains?
Mountains.
What is your favorite vacation spot?
Somewhere in the woods in a cabin.
Have you already visited this place?
Several times, yeah, in different places, yes.
Uh, since you're from Wisconsin, what do you feel about snow?
I like it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I like to change the seasons here, so I do enjoy a little bit of snow.
What is your favorite thing to eat, or your comfort food?
Pizza, 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 pizza. I'll eat it every day.
Favorite drink besides water?
um, I hate to admit this, but I love Coca Cola. Um, if I don't drink very much of it, it's a nice treat for me. I drink those little mini cans. I'll have one every maybe a couple a week as a treat. Um, I really enjoy I'm a big coffee drinker, actually. So I guess I would say coffee.
What is your favorite dessert?
Ooh,
Do you
pretty.
actually have a sweet tooth, if I have to say?
I do have a sweet tooth, a bit of one. I love pie, all kinds of pie.
Nice. Favorite holiday season?
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and followed closely by Christmas.
And any favorite song?
Favorite songs? Oh boy, that's tough. I like all kinds of music. I wow, I listen to a lot of jazz music and instrumental music. Um, and I know this is rapid fire, but that's a really tough one. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling that day, I guess. Sorry.
Favorite movie?
Um, I have two. One's called The Player, and with Tim Robbins, and the other is called Ronin, and that's with Robert De Niro.
And favorite actor?
Um, wow, that's a tough one too. I would probably say Daniel Day Lewis.
And my last question, are you a dog person or a cat person or not at all a pet person?
Actually, both. I have a dog and a cat. I've always had dogs all my life. I really love dogs, and when I got married, a cat came into my life, and I absolutely loved it. So I must say both.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mike, for your time today. And I will uh, stop recording. Thank
Okay,
you,
thank you so
everyone.
much for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this.